Thank you very, very much, Arlene. Good afternoon. And good afternoon to those who are joining us. And I should also at this time say thank you to Consul General Lincoln Downer and to Victoria Mutual for giving us this opportunity to engage in this virtual fireside chat. I look forward to speaking with you and colleagues from other parts of the Caribbean this afternoon.
Yes, and we're going to get into the conversation. So from Cuba, we have Consul General Mrs. Tania Lopez Larroque. Mrs. Lopez Larroque has spent 20 years in the diplomatic service representing the Republic of Cuba. Tania first served as First Secretary at the Division of Consular Affairs and Cubans Living Abroad at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs before being assigned to her current post in Canada. Welcome, C.G. Lopez Larroque.
Thank you very much, Arlene. Particularly, thank you for the difference of doing it in Spanish in the welcoming. I would also
you're most welcome.
Great Spanish, by the way. I would like
Gracias.
also to reiterate our appreciation to CG Donor for organizing this event, which I'm really proud and honored to be joining tonight. Mainly because I will be joining very special colleagues in this panel. Particularly, I'm really glad to meet and to join this way H.C. Miller.
So let's bring on more of these amazing women. Now we have our Consul General from Barbados, Miss Sonia Marville Carter. CG Marville Carter started her post in Toronto at the end of October 2018. She has 23 years experience in the private sector, having undertaken several significant roles in administration, human resources, marketing, public relations, publishing, sustainable development, and energy. She was also the managing director of M3 Management Consultants. Welcome, CG Marville Carter.
Thank you so very much, Arlene. And I, like all the others, I'm very, very happy to be here with you. And I also thank CG Downer and the Consulate General of Jamaica for organizing this event. Very happy to be here and among such distinguished persons. And yes, again, I'm very happy also to be able to see the HC for Jamaica.
Warm welcome. And now we welcome to the stage Mrs. Anne-Marie Lane. Anne-Marie Lane is the CG, the Consul General of Antigua and Barbuda. She's a career diplomat with 26 years of experience in the Foreign Service of Antigua and Barbuda. She assumed the post of Consul General here at the Consulate General of Antigua and Barbuda in Toronto in October 2013. Ms. Lane also has the distinction of being the current Dean of the Consular Corps Association of Toronto, which is the largest group of consular representatives in Canada outside of the nation's capital. Welcome, CG Lane.
Well, thank you so much, Arlene. It's a pleasure to be here, a pleasure to be among such a distinguished group of ladies. And congratulations to CG Downer for hosting this event. I have no doubt it is going to be an amazing evening. So thank you again for the invitation to participate.
Thank you, CG Lane. We now welcome Consul General for St. Lucia in Toronto, Mrs. Cheryl Francis. CG Francis is an accomplished senior management executive with over 23 years of experience in the fields of banking and finance, marketing, corporate communications, and telecommunications collectively. She served on the management team of Cable and Wireless Limited for over 15 years. Welcome, CG Francis.
Thank you, Arlene. Thank you for this wonderful introduction. And like all of my other colleagues, I am so honored to be part of this panel with my fellow female colleagues in the Caribbean Consular Corps here in Canada. And kudos, CG Downer of Jamaica for pulling this event together. And thank you so much for having me. We will all have an awesome evening. Thank you.
And now we're going to round out this group with our Acting Consul General of Trinidad and Tobago, Mrs. Tracy Ramsabag Manette. Consul General Ramsabag Manette has been a career diplomat in the service of the government of Trinidad and Tobago for the past 13 years. Over that time, she has served in several divisions in the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, including the Multilateral Relations Division, Americas Division, and Protocol Division. Welcome, CG Ramsabag Manette.
Hi, Arlene. Thank you for that introduction, making me sound much more amazing than I think I am. Hello to H.C. Miller, colleagues, and to everyone tuned in. And a special thank you to CG Downer for organizing this event that allows us this opportunity to shine. Looking forward to the chat. It's going to be fun.
All right, fabulous. So we have all of our panelists here on the stage, and I am just loving this Caribbean vibe. You know what this kind of reminds me of? You know, when you go to UWI and you meet people from all the different islands, but this is amplified because as I read the mini bios, and believe you me, viewers, I just read a snippet of what was on each of these bios. So you can imagine how much their excellence is amplified above it. So I'm dying to get into the conversation. We're going to split it in two parts, but while I have all of you together on the platform, I want to start out with a question. And hold on, for all of our viewers, ladies and gentlemen, my Caribbean people, you loving the sight of the flags? You feeling the energy? Wave your own flags at home if you want. Clap your hands, celebrate. It's an evening to celebrate Caribbean excellence and feel the good vibes. I hope you have your cup of tea for the fireside chat. I hope your fingers are ready to post your comments as well. I don't know, maybe you're sipping a little rum. I don't know. Just get ready to have some fun. So, ladies, I am curious as to what makes someone decide that they want to go and work in the diplomatic service. From what I do know, it's a demanding role. So tell me, I'm going to start out with this question for all of you. What made you decide? What drew you to this life? And I'll start with my fellow Jamaican, because if you haven't been able to figure out yet, viewers, I am Jamaican, and you can see the flag somewhere in my background. So I'll start with my fellow Jamaican, H.C. Miller. What drew you to the Foreign Service?
Okay, Arlene. As a child, I was an avid reader. And as you know, books take you to far away and strange places. I also I came of age in a Jamaica, which we would refer to now as being woke. That means that unless you were a minor and you were specially challenged, you would have known that from the conversations taking place in the society, that Jamaica's development was impacted by decisions taken in faraway places. And in thinking about that, it means that could hinder my full potential, realizing my full potential. And so I decided that I want to be in those discussions and I want to influence those decisions. And the foreign ministry to me served as the perfect vehicle to do that. Also, it was perhaps good fortune that shortly after I left high school, I got a job in the foreign ministry, and that serves to clarify the work for me and also the requirements to make sure that should I pursue this path, that my performance would be effective.
Says La Roque. We've heard from C.G. Miller and her dreams as a child and how she wanted to be involved. Tell us, what is your story? What drew you to serving your country in this kind of capacity?
Well, Arlene, in fact, I never thought about it before. When I finished my university studies, I was posted at the foreign ministry and I joined the diplomatic service as an interpreter. And this was the main course that motivated me to pursue postgraduate studies in international relationships and in more detail in consular affairs, which is since then now what I love the most. that's how I got it.
Oh, that's a lovely story. So you came in organically and you started as an interpreter. That's a pretty tough job, I can tell you. C.G. Ramsubag Manette, what drew you to this life in the diplomatic service?
Yeah, so like Tanya, it wasn't exactly a premeditated thing. I don't have a heartwarming story to share about dreaming of being in the foreign service ever since I was a kid. Um, in fact, it really wasn't until that vacancy notice was smack in front of my face that I actually considered that, hey, maybe being a foreign service officer could check a lot of boxes for me. For one, it sounded like a great way to engage in public service and to give back. And it allowed me to accomplish all that while having experiences in other countries and learning about different cultures. And I really think that my late aha moment when it came to a foreign service career could be a key takeaway for any students or recent graduates listening in. If you haven't yet thought about it, don't count yourself out. If you didn't select your degree with the foreign service in mind, don't worry about that either. Entry requirements are deliberately very broad because we acknowledge that it takes all kinds of talents and backgrounds to get this job done.
All right. Thank you, C.G. Ramsabag Menet. And you've made your little plug for folks who are considering joining the Foreign Service. We have many who probably, as High Commissioner Miller, are dreaming of it as children or teenagers. And now we turn to C.G. Lane from Antigua and Barbuda. How did you decide to join the Foreign Service?
Well, Arlene, I actually didn't plan to join the Foreign Service. I was very close to my paternal grandfather, and he would tell me stories about his time working on tobacco plantations in Cuba and working on the Panama Canal and his life in the UK. And he was a great storyteller. So he shared a lot of his experiences with me, the good and the bad. And that made me curious about the world. But I actually wanted to be a journalist because I wanted to cover those human interest stories. And unfortunately, I didn't get into journalism school. So I decided to study literature in undergrad. And in my final year, I had a professor who was taught a course in women in the UN. And she spoke about the UN and her work in rural cities in India. And that was my aha moment. I knew that that was a path for me, not necessarily diplomacy, but I knew I wanted to work in international relations. And that sparked an interest in issues related to women as well. And that's, a lifelong interest for me. And after undergrad, I joined the Foreign Service, and here I am.
Here we are. C.G. Francis, what drew you to this life in the Foreign Service? Please tell us.
All right. I must say, growing up, the general perception of a diplomat, is someone who spends, most of their time at government functions and posh cocktail parties. And of course, it seemed very interesting. But, to be honest, I saw this job being far more dynamic and challenging, But for me, fundamentally, I really wanted to make a contribution. You mentioned, I had been in the private sector for, over 23 years, in various leadership roles, in banking, in telecoms, in marketing, managing international business relationships and representing a brand throughout the region. And so I jumped at the opportunity to bring these skills to benefit my people and my country. And, when you really think about it, while telecoms and marketing, may seem to not have anything in common, with diplomatic work, the reality is, Arlene, is that this experience prepared me well for this job. And in today's environment, as a diplomat, you represent a brand, which is your country. Public diplomacy is very much about country branding, especially in today's global environment. And so this career just became very appealing to me. And more importantly, and apart from being able to shape and execute government policy, I now have the opportunity to mentor and nurture some of our next generation leaders. And of course, to take care of my fellow brothers and sisters here in the diaspora in Canada. And, all of this has just been so rewarding so far.
Thank you, CG Francis. And CG Marvel Carter, I know you also have extensive experience in the private sector, like CG Francis. So how did the transition into the diplomatic service happen?
Well, I think it was very good that you left me for last. Reason being, my experience has been an amalgamation almost of everybody's experience there so far. For instance, I studied languages at A level, and I wanted to be an interpreter. So I am kind of going with CG Tanya as well. That was my first love. The second thing is that I had an uncle who was a diplomat. And he served Barbados in Brussels. He also served in Cuba. He served the United Nations. He represented Barbados at the United Nations as well. And I came up watching him and traveling to the various territories where he worked to see what he did as well. And that interested me. But however, I still didn't look to go into the diplomatic service right away. I started working, as you said, in the private sector, but I also did a lot of community work. And I worked with the community. And at that point, as I got with the community and I saw the needs of the people, and just like some of the others said, when you realize that you can take it to another level where I can marry the whole idea of me with my languages and loving travel and so forth. I can marry that with being able to assist with change for those people at that level. So for my countrymen at the level that I can take it now where I am overseas and I am representing my country and being able to enact and make change for them at the community level. So that is how it came in. It was almost, like I said, fortuitous for me when my prime minister asked me to serve in this regard, but it was not necessarily something that I set out to do initially.
And there's so much synergy to the stories. We've heard about the skills in marketing and human resource management, the shift between public and private sector, and this common theme of interpreting and a love for languages. And I imagine a love for languages leads you to want to forge that bridge to others. So the stories are fascinating already, but there's much more to come. We're going to take a 15-second break. So don't move a muscle. Don't even get up. Just take a sip. We'll be right back. right, so welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that small snippet. We just teased you. We're going to give you a fuller taste of it when we are a little later down in the show. Now, if you're just tuning in, we're in our panel discussion segment, and I am going to dive a little deeper, almost one-on-one. And in this segment, we're going to be joined by High Commissioner Sharon Miller from Jamaica and our Consuls General, Mrs. Tanya Lopez Larroque, representing Cuba, and CG Sonia Marville Carter from Barbados. All right, ladies, we're going to switch to first names because we're keeping it informal. It's a fireside chat. I hope, like me, you have your cup of tea to wet your throat periodically. So let's jump in. CG Lopez Larroque, where have you served previously along your career in the Foreign Service? Which countries?
Well, Arlene, my first posting was in Mexico City, and always the first job out of the country turns out to be a grade school. And mainly because I was only 24 years old by then, and I arrived there as deputy consul. I stayed in Mexico for 5 years, and that, as I said, it was a great school. After that, well, we always go back to Havana, and we stay there for 3 to 4 years. And in between, we always stay in Havana at the Foreign Ministry. Second posting was in Buenos Aires, Argentina, as consul. It was the first time heading an office. And the greatest memory I have from Buenos Aires is the arrival of my first child. And then Toronto. Toronto, Canada has been my third location. But then again, another first time. It's been the first time as Consul General, which offers definitely a wider spectrum of the job and has definitely been relevant in my overall training and preparation as a diplomat. So that's it.
And did you go back to Cuba in between your postings of Mexico, Argentina, and now Canada? Yes, you did.
Yes, in between every postings, we are Foreign Services. We always go back to Havana. We stay there working as counterparts of our colleagues abroad for 3 to 4 years.
Okay. All right. High Commissioner Miller. Sharon, where have you served previously? I know you've been around the world, but tell our viewers.
Okay. My first posting was as Deputy High Commissioner right here in Ottawa. So I have it here. So I have experienced Ottawa in all its glory, in winter, in spring, in summer, whatever. I did learn a lot while I was here in Ottawa. I then returned home, and my next posting was as Deputy Chief of Mission in Washington, D.C. And that was an extremely interesting posting. I had 3 different ambassadors from which I learned quite a bit, even though I was by then a well-seasoned Foreign Service officer. Each one brought something different to the table, and I learned a lot from each of them. 2 of those were involved in business. One was a straight-up entrepreneur, and one was a lecturer in business. And I always said, I learned from them the 2 sides of business, what it is like to do business at the intellectual level, and what it is like to do the practical aspect of business. And also to see that diplomacy, my work, and how it intersects with business. Those were things I learned in in Washington.
In Washington. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Just prior to coming here, I was posted to Brazil. Unfortunately, a lot of my time in Brazil, the COVID-19 pandemic had taken place. So I did not get to see a lot of what I have learned now is a fascinating country. I knew then that Brazil is a continent-wide country. And it is fascinating there. While in Brazil, I had multiple accreditations to Argentina, Chile, Paraguay, Uruguay. So I did some travels in South America. So, and as you said before, I came here in August last year, and this was at the head of mission level, of course. My first posting as head of mission was to Brazil.
Oh, yes. Well, congratulations. And it's so interesting to come full circle. You started in Ottawa, and then now you're back in Ottawa, in Canada. And Sonia, we know, is this your first posting?
It is.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about what you were doing previously?
Yes, of course. Yes, as you just said, this is my first posting. However, I was working before with the United Nations. I was contracted independently, but I am always working for my country, of course. So although I was contracted independently, I am always representing Barbados. I would have been working at that point in time in the area of sustainable development. That was in 2012. But after that, I went home and I was in the private sector in marketing, HR, administration for quite a while before coming over here to Canada as Consul General. But I would say that having worked at the United Nations, because that would have been the first time I would have been exposed to a multilateral platform, and it was very eye-opening. I enjoyed it immensely, and it was part of the preparation for this posting as well. I could see a lot of the experience I would have gained during that period that I can now see I need and I'm pulling on while I'm here as Consul General.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. And let's get into the nitty-gritty and start to understand what exactly happens, what kind of work you do. And it seems as if my camera has temporarily gone down, but as long as you're hearing me, that's what matters. And we're seeing your lovely faces. So let's just keep it flowing. All right. So let's talk about the work that you do through the High Commission to play a role in effecting change in your country. H.C. Miller, if we could hear from you.
Of course, thank you. First of all, let me say that I am happy to represent Jamaica in Canada, one of our most important development partners. The relationship with Canada, Jamaica has benefited tremendously over the years in areas critical to our national development: healthcare, security, climate change, labor, just to name a few. The High Commission is the bridge between the countries. And our mission, our objective is to ensure that the relationship is secure and that it is enhanced. Growth and development, as you know, are key players in effective change on the ground. Understanding that and the importance of having friends in the international community who are willing and able to speak on your behalf when you cannot do so for yourself is not only desirable, but crucial. The work being done in the High Commission and at the Consulate General in Toronto serve to ensure that Jamaica's representation in Canada serve our domestic interests in building a just and equitable society. I must also say that there are many times that the things we do are unseen. The work we do among our diaspora, the work we do in advocating for and lobbying for our interests, those are unseen. I do recall the statement that a lot of what people see as the Foreign Service doing work is going to receptions and interfacing with high-level individuals. Of course, that is an extremely important part of the representational function, but we do a lot of work behind the scenes to ensure that our country's development is secure and that our interest is advocated for in the international arena.
Thank you for busting that myth. It's not all glamour and glitz and cocktail parties. It's serious work.
Yeah. Mhm.
Sonia, what in your words, what role does the work you do at the consulate play in, what role does it play in effecting change in Barbados?
Well, as H.C. Miller would have just alluded to, we do at the Consulate General, we do have a High Commission, and the High Commission, they will deal directly government to government. Whereas with the Consulate General, we deal more municipal and provincial, and then to the diaspora. So if you're talking about exactly what benefits are derived from our positions here and what we do, for instance, it is a matter of ensuring that we engage with the diaspora. So when you engage and you highlight things that are happening at home, you're able then to pretty much build a partnership. You're able to at a level inform them so that they know what the philanthropic needs are for your country. So you have a bridge. They know what the needs are in Barbados, for instance. I'll speak to Barbados, of course, and we know what they need here as well. So that's the bridge that you get. So for the country, it allows the diaspora to know exactly what is happening in the country, keep them abreast so they know how they can contribute if they so desire. Most of them, of course, want to contribute to their homeland. So we ensure that we act as a conduit so they know exactly what we need, what is needed. The other thing, of course, would be the public-private partnerships. So, of course, we would do a lot of work with the entities, especially the educational institutions, and it offers us where you can then have MOUs. So you forge relationships with these institutions, and then you get technical assistance and other assistance, of course, for the island. So that is where the consulate plays a major role as well, of course, and keeping in touch and together with our Caribbean territories, the Caribbean countries who are also here, as well as the other countries represented. So part of the Consular Corps, part of what we do at the Consular Corps is to make sure that we can also tap into whatever assistance, whatever we can get, the relationships that we can forge with the other territories represented here as well. So all of that is part of what happens in our areas and in our consulates and the kind of benefits that are derived.
Okay, wonderful. So Tanya, C.G. Lopez Larroque from Cuba. I'm going to change a question just slightly. And if you think about the role that you play as a Consul General, what are some of the particular challenges that you might face?
Well, that's a very good question, Arlene. And as our colleagues have mentioned before, our role as CGs, our Consul Generals, it is essential in strengthening links and ties between our embassies in capital cities and our governments with local entities and local contacts, and on a space that is more narrowed and in which we can probably have more frequent contact. But the main essence in most of the cases why consulate generals are created in a specific jurisdiction is mainly because of the community we have. Working with our nationals is our main focus all of the time. I think that's a common task in most of our consulate generals, at least here in Toronto, in which our communities are really representative, and they consume. They are on the main focus of our functions here. But at the same time, as I mentioned before, and in every field is where we find the most, I think, delicate and challenging issues in working with our nationals, trying always to help them, trying to keep them linked to their origins, not to lose the track and not to lose the bonds with our main nation, our born land. So I feel passionate about that. This is is my main challenge, but it's what I like the most at the same time. But architecture, as I told you, is essential in strengthening links, and definitely these relations contribute to the development and the welfare of our nation. It seeks to favor the possibility of finding new business opportunities, scientific, academic, and cultural exchanges. And these kind of relations are beneficial to both parties. Likewise, we also foster these type of relationships with our nationals. For instance, some of them probably may have been trained in our country or abroad, and after a while, after being consolidated as professionals, careers, as Sonia mentioned, some of them are interested in contributing to the development of their country of origin. And this is really gratifying to be able to contribute to this.
And to give them that opportunity. Fantastic. All right. So we're just going to ask one last question, and I'm going to pose it to you, H.C. Miller, and can just give us a snippet, one thing, so that we end this segment on a high. Can you tell us one achievement that you are most proud of so far on this journey?
Okay, one achievement that I am most proud of course, is representing Jamaica in negotiating the SDGs. It is hard for me to tell you only one achievement, but that is something I'm very proud of, because I have seen the work that I have done both multilaterally and bilaterally having effect on the ground. And I can talk about the Halfway Tree Transportation Center. I can talk about assisting our nationals in distress. And there have been many over the years. And that the fact that in doing all of that, it tells me that diplomacy works, and that diplomacy works for the people. And just before we go, just to say that I am more than my job. And so I have to say that another thing that I'm very proud of is the fact that I've raised two strong, independent-minded individuals during this time.
And that's a beautiful achievement to celebrate. And on that note, I hope everybody is totally blown away, as I am, by what you have shared so far and the work that you do, the breadth of it, and how you represent and support your nationals here in Canada. So we have a little entertainment coming up. You got a little snippet of it before. We're going to give you a fuller taste of it, so that if you want to, you can rise to your feet and work your waist, get a little exercise, enjoy the melodious tunes courtesy of Barbados, the sweet strains of Apocalypso by Barbadian Joseph Callender. Take it away. All right. And you see me here. I was having the best time ever right here. And I hope you were too. There's nothing like the sights and the sounds of the Caribbean to relieve a little homesickness. I hope all of you out there in the Caribbean can understand what it's like for us in these long winters, etc. So I loved that, and I hope you did too. Apocalypso by Barbadian Joseph Callender. And so welcome back. We're now entering our second segment. We are going to bring in our other CGs to hear their stories. We'll hear from Consuls General Anne-Marie Lane from Antigua and Barbuda, Consul General Cheryl Francis from St. Lucia, and Consul General Tracy Ramsabag Manette from Trinidad and Tobago. Let's welcome them back. All right. Hello, ladies.
Hi, Arlene.
Okay, so we're going to do the same round with similar questions to understand your stories. And we will start with you, Acting Consul General Ramsabag Manette, if I may call you Tracy.
Sure.
Where have you served previously? I know you have a long and illustrious career so far. So tell us some of the places that you have been to on this journey.
So actually, I served in a couple of dispensations back at headquarters, different divisions and so on, but Toronto is actually only my second posting. My first posting was in Brussels, otherwise known as the capital of Europe. In retrospect, I give it a full 10 out of 10 score as a first assignment in terms of exposure and opportunity for growth, just because it was both a multilateral mission and a bilateral mission, which was accredited to 6 European countries. And my ambassador back then, a female career diplomat of the highest caliber, I owe her so much. She invested heavily in my training and personal growth, and I had the chance to observe and learn from her expertise in the area of negotiating, as well as lobbying the European Union on our priorities. I also accompanied her a lot on her official missions, and so that was pretty awesome. So Brussels was 2010 to 2015 for me, and I spent 5 years back at headquarters before getting assigned to Toronto in December of last year. And I can say that no 2 days have been the same so far. Just having to adapt and pandemic-proof the way we do things has kept me quite occupied. The work itself has been also really rewarding. Helping people is the greatest feeling, and I'm dealing with a lot of diverse issues and extraordinary people, and that keeps it very interesting. So all in all, I'm definitely enjoying this new assignment, and I'm particularly looking forward to the warmer months in Toronto and the possibility of exploring just a little further than the consulate and the supermarket across the street, but only when it's safe to do so.
There's so much that resonates with me in your story. First of all, I also lived in Brussels, and that was where I got a taste of life in the diplomatic service, because I worked as a local recruit with the Embassy of Jamaica there in Brussels. And I too give it a 10 out of 10 as a location, except for all of that rain. And now here you are, here we all are with snow and a long winter, but hopefully the sunshine is coming soon. So if we can go to you, CG Francis, Cheryl, tell us what has been your journey. And I know you are coming from private sector. So tell us a little bit more about where you were previously. I think you also traveled throughout the Caribbean.
Yes, absolutely. So, like you said, this is my first posting. I was appointed as Consul General in Toronto in January 2017. However, I began my career in banking for about 8 years. I went to England, I studied banking and finance, However, when I returned to St. Lucia, I did not go back into banking. I was given an opportunity at Cable and Wireless. And I took that opportunity because I felt it would have given me, a lot more room to move. And, I served in various management roles throughout the region, St. Lucia, Dominica, St. Kitts, just such awesome experiences in all of those islands. And so, yes, this is my first posting, my first government role as well. And it has certainly been an honor to be able to serve the people of St. Lucia here in Canada. I have a great team at the Consulate. I work closely with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Sarah Flood-Bobra. We have a High Commissioner, Mr. Anton Edmonds, and we have an amazing Prime Minister that I work very closely with, the Honorable Alan Michael Chasney, a remarkable and visionary leader. It has been a great journey for me thus far.
Oh, fantastic. And we also have something in common because I lived in the UK as well. So as the stories emerge, all these commonalities, and I love hearing about the inter-Caribbean travel and naming all of the islands. I almost feel like celebrating. So let me come to you, CG Lane, if I may, Anne-Marie, and you're also Dean of the Consular Corps. So you have quite a bit of experience. Where were you previously on your journey in the diplomatic service?
So my first posting was to our mission in Washington, D.C. And that was my first experience doing both multilateral diplomacy and bilateral. And I was fortunate to have an ambassador who was an advocate for climate change. And he also was an individual who believed in writing. And so it was an excellent first posting because I think I learned a lot about how to be a diplomat. I also had the pleasure of serving in Washington at the same time as H.C. Miller. So I can definitely say she is awesome. That posting also allowed me to walk in my grandfather's footsteps. I actually got to see the Panama Canal and I got to travel throughout Latin America. So it was a great experience. Multilateral diplomacy is quite different to this posting that I have now, which is my second posting. I came here in 2013. And it's different because you're definitely dealing with nationals, with the diaspora. Yes. The focus is completely different. And so I think the experiences that I had in Washington, D.C. certainly have helped me to navigate this new posting.
Yes, and as each of you speak, I'm so curious. I almost want to sort of deviate and ask you to break it down and tell me all about a day in the life of. And I can imagine you would have many, many stories to tell. Now, how does your work, this sort of day in the life of, how does your work in the consulate play a role in effecting change in your country? And you've already given us a little hint of it. So, it's an opportunity to tell us a little bit more. And CG Lane, I know you just finished speaking, but I'm going to start with you. Again, how does your work at the consulate play a role in effecting change for the people of Antigua and Barbuda?
Well, I would say first off that our role at the consulate is representation and implementation of national policies. And a key component of that, as colleagues would have mentioned earlier, is our diaspora engagement. Antigua and Barbuda recognizes that our nationals are our greatest asset, and they are an integral part of nation building. We recognize that they have the skills and the experience, and we want to tap into that. So, for instance, one of the things that we have done quite recently is to host an investment forum so that nationals can learn about the projects and the programs and other investment opportunities that are available to them in Antigua and Barbuda. We also do a lot of work in terms of collaboration with NGOs, because we are also trying to build capacity in Antigua and Barbuda. So we've been very fortunate, for instance, to have NGOs who have contributed not only equipment, but their time. So I can give an example. We had a fire department in Alberta send equipment to Antigua, and they sent an instructor with the equipment, and he trained our fire department officials while he was there. Also, we do a lot of work in terms of partnerships. I'm happy to say that we were able to negotiate an agreement between our Science and Innovation Park in Antigua and Sparks Niagara, and that agreement will allow young entrepreneurs the opportunity to learn from conception to finally taking their product to market. And of course, consular work. You know, we are teachers, sister, pastor, psychologists, you name it, we are it. That's what we do every day. No day is the same, but every day.
You've made it sound incredibly exciting, and I see both CG Francis and CG Ramsabagman nodding and smiling, especially when you said you do the full gamut and all the roles that you play. Definitely multifaceted. CG Ramsabagman, Tracy, how does the work of the consulate play a role in effecting change for Trinidad and Tobago?
So I think we're going to find a lot of commonalities in the response to this question, because anywhere that a country decides to establish a consulate, the main focus is always the community and leveraging that community's strength. So we at the Trinidad and Tobago Consulate, we want to enable and encourage our nationals in Canada to play a role in national development and to effect positive change back at home. So in essence, we effect change by building on the strength of the diaspora. And we aspire to do that by offering efficient consular and immigration services that will make our citizens want to stay engaged with us, not just come to us when they need a regular service or when they're in trouble. We also try to do that, as other colleagues would have mentioned, by developing relationships with key officials in province with whom we can advance the concerns of our community. And we also try to do that by arranging, supporting, and promoting events that keep all aspects of our culture alive. And I have to say that in my experience, some of the most patriotic people, some of the people most passionate about Trinidad and Tobago actually reside outside of the country, including right here in Canada. So we want to say to our people here that, you know, you're not lost actors. You are, in fact, an extraordinary asset. And we want you to be our country's advocates and ambassadors. And in many ways, they already do that so much better than the consulate ever could. So our job is to convince, you know, talented Trinbagonians abroad that the best chance that our country has, not just for survival, but for lasting prosperity, is if our most talented citizens step forward for service and to effect that positive change.
Thank you. That's so powerful. And, you know, CG Francis, I'm going to change the question only slightly for you. You know, the work you do in the consulate, as we've heard, you know, plays a big role in advancing the interests of your country. But if you could just sneak into your response, what are some of the challenges along the way? What are some of the challenges that come with that role and the whole piece of the consular services, as your colleagues had mentioned or touched on?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Arlene. Yes, significant challenges. I mean, one of the earlier challenges I must say that I had was in terms of sourcing aid for various projects. You know, of course, when you join the service or you're preparing to take the new role, you start developing a plan, a grand plan of some of the things that you would like to achieve. You know, however, you quickly realize that, you know, it's not that simple, especially with government agencies, you know, which tend to have, you know, set policies and procedures, you know, unlike private corporate companies, you know, where I'm from, you know, where you pretty much have, you know, a lot of control and flexibility over certain decisions, like budgets, but although it took some time for the creation of a rapport with key stakeholders, government agencies and ministries, both back home and in Canada, this, you know, has since moved over. But also the biggest one was, you know, having to contend with the reality, you know, that the Caribbean, in particular, the smaller island states of the OECS, you know, find it very challenging to gain any significant support from Canadian government. And, you know, it was sobering. It was sobering for me as the structure of the funding available, for example, from Global Affairs Canada, for example, these are more readily available and provided under an umbrella grouping. And so with that said, you know, the space where I was able to find my sweet spot, you know, is in the local and the provincial area, where the ability to source and identify partnering opportunities and agencies, you know, resulted in quite a bit of success. But, you know, for me, the challenges was, you know, just recognizing that, you know, we had to come as a whole. And I think that is where we gain the strength in our Caribbean Consular Core group. We are able to seek funding as a group. We are able to tap into various donations as a group. And that was some of my early challenges. And, you know, I've had to segue into other means.
Again, more proof that we are stronger together. As you said, tapping into that partnership and the kind of partnership that we're displaying here today in this fireside chat with all of you stellar, accomplished members of the diplomatic service. Now we have a rapid fire question, and it really is around achievements. Now I've heard various things that are achievements, but if you could just pick out one achievement that you're most proud of, and I know there are many, we need another show, but one achievement that you're most proud of on this journey. Let's start with you, Tracy, CG Ramsabag Manette from Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, Arlene. So the difficulty I have answering this question is that I've never really thought of myself as singularly being responsible for any of the achievements in the professional area of my life. If I've achieved anything at all along this journey, it's always been a team effort. So I might have worked on the technical or the logistical side of some of those achievements, but it's always been a ministry effort or a whole of government effort. So I'm going to daintily sidestep around this question by saying that in my current dispensation at the consulate, the most fulfilling part of the job is being able to truly help people. And every time I manage to do that, big or small, it becomes in that very moment the biggest achievement of my journey so far and the one that I'm most proud of. So I know that sounds a little cliche, but it's how I feel.
Oh, it's not cliched at all. The reward is in helping people. That's absolutely beautiful. CG Lane and Marie, any achievement you would like to highlight?
Well, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to highlight two. I totally agree with Tracy. For me, the achievement is really not just contribution to country, but how I've impacted individuals. So if I am able to help a person in crisis access resources that he or she needs, and I see that they're recovering and doing well, for me, that's an achievement. If I'm able to spark an interest in Antigua and Barbuda's culture or in the Caribbean culture, or for a young person that we're mentoring, that's an achievement. But the one thing that ranks above all is my achievement as a mother. I have got to watch my son grow into a kind, empathetic young man who is interested and curious about the world. And I hope that my experiences, that my journey, hearing me talk about the social issues of our time, I hope that has an impact on him in the same way that my grandfather's stories had an impact on me. That for me is, above all, my greatest achievement.
And he must be incredibly proud of you. Congrats. Yes. CG Francis, Cheryl, tell us. You did highlight a couple achievements while you were speaking, but is there any one that you would call out?
Okay, so the one on the, I would say countrywide level, a Canadian visa center was opened in St. Lucia back in October 2019. And, we are especially happy, that, the cost associated with our St. Lucians having to go to Barbados and Trinidad to get their biometric information processed has been eliminated. And so it makes it a lot more cost effective for our St. Lucians to travel. However, for me personally, like my other colleagues did, the one that I'm extremely proud of, is the fact that it's Youth Month, by the way, is the fact that we've been able to tap into our youth in the diaspora and supporting not only their academic endeavors, but also their creative and national endeavors in reviving their patriotism, and, we have formed a youth organization, St. Lucian Young Leaders in Canada. They refer to themselves as SILK, and we are now bridging that generational gap, and they are determined, to return home to make a difference. And the main characteristics of those young people, those young leaders that we have grooming here in Canada, is that they are not going home to look for jobs in institutions. They are actually creating their own opportunities. They are entrepreneurs, they are fearless. And, that is what excites me the most, because I know they will make a significant impact in our country soon to come.
All right. Thank you for that. And now we will take just a 15-second. Oops, did I say minutes? No, 15 seconds, just the opportunity for you to maybe stand and stretch or wave your flag or drop a comment in the chat or take a sip. When we come back, we're going to have our full panel with us again on the platform. So we'll be right back.
I got a mortgage customized to fit me.
Same day pre-approval on my loan. Wow.
Lower mortgage payments, so I have money to do more of the things that matter.
Happiness is owning my own crib.
Take advantage of our same-day mortgage pre-approval plus customized financing of up to 100% and enjoy low monthly payments. Happiness is home. Own it with BMBS.
All right, welcome back. And again, I'm just loving the sight of all of these flags. Before we get into the other question, I just wanted to give Sonia and Tanya the opportunity, because we didn't during your segment, to share. Is there one achievement that you'd like to highlight from this journey? Can we start with you, Sonia?
Thank you, Arlene. Well, very quickly, I mean, a lot of things were said before, and I can add to that. But one thing I would want to say for Barbados generally now, and this is Barbados generally here in Toronto, we have created a web series called For the Love of BIM, and BIM is Barbados. For those who don't know that, BIM is Barbados, and this web series is called For the Love of BIM. And I think what I'm most proud about is that the consulate has been able to kind of move into the 21st century in terms of technology and making sure that we are, you know, on par with the younger folk and knowing what they're liking. So this web series informs the diaspora of things that are happening. And we actually give like birthday shout outs and so forth. And it is heartwarming when we get a lot of comments coming back from people who said, you know, it's wonderful to see the Barbados Consulate knows it's my birthday and, you know, things like that. So I think that is one of the achievements that I would have to point to for within recent times in terms of making sure that we have bridged that gap with the diaspora and we have reached them at a level where they are at, and that by use of the technology.
So even though I'm not from Barbados, I'm intrigued and I might just check out For the Love of BIM.
You must remember we're Caribbean, so it's For the Love of BIM. So it's FUH.
For the Love of BIM.
For the Love of BIM.
For the Love of BIM. Yeah. I hope I got it right.
You got it right. And it's on YouTube, so anybody can check it out.
Okay, thank you. So Tanya, any quick achievement that you would like to highlight along this journey?
Well, Arlene, it might seem that I'm copying my colleagues, but definitely they are quite similar. First, my family. Being able to achieve that we all feel happy and that my children managed to, let's say, still love me and care about me, even if I get home really late at night or I cannot be at bedtime sometimes. But at the same time, the other day, they only asked, Mom, how was your day? How did you manage to? And I feel proud of you. I think that would be my main achievement. But that really, along with everyday work, I can really say, as Tracy mentioned, as Anne-Marie said, that this daily work, when you are able to help someone with something that for us is common, is what we do every day. For this person, it was transcendental. It was decisive for particular circumstances in their life. That is the main achievement. As I can tell you that on the other side, for me at least, the most frustrating is the other way around, is when we are not able to be part of the solution. So that's really depressing. But at least we need to try to guarantee that we did everything that was possible to be done in our reach. So that's our everyday life.
Yes, and it must be so incredibly fulfilling to do what you love, to give back to your country, and to positively impact the lives of your nationals who are living in far-flung locations and may have different challenges. So it's wonderful to hear that you are gratified every day by what you do. But I must imagine, well, I do imagine that, like me, you experience a little bit of homesickness. So this question that I'm going to ask you is really for our listeners in the diaspora, people like ourselves living away from home. The question is simply, what do you miss most about home? And I don't know if any of you are going to say it, but I can tell you, your heart will be in sync with mine if you mention mango, because I can't tell you how much I miss picking a fit mango from the tree and being able to sit down and get into it and, you know, and not wait to have it ripen, wrapped up in newspaper, hiding in a cupboard, wondering how it's going to turn out because I bought it green while it was here. But that's my story. It's not about me. So I'm going to go around the virtual stage in the order in which I'm seeing the bevy of wonderful smiling faces. I'm going to start with you, CG, Anne-Marie Lane. What do you miss most about home, Antigua and Barbuda?
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed every experience I've had being posted overseas, but I deeply miss bun and cheese and a good cup of tea. My Sunday afternoons were spent with one of my best friends, eating bun and cheese and drinking tea. I miss that. I miss feeling anchored. I miss. Give me some bun and cheese, please.
Yes, I hope your best friend is on. I hope your best friend is listening, and I hope your best friend is having a nice slice of bun and cheese to celebrate you.
I hope she is.
Sonia, CG Marvel Carter, what do you miss most about home?
Arlene, I'm sorry, but it's going to be everything for me. I miss everything about home. But most of all, I would say that I miss my family because my family is not with me here in Canada. And so I'm pretty much alone. And the unfortunate thing is, although I've been here from 2018, in the initial stages, they were able to come very frequently, or I would travel back. But because now of COVID, nobody has been able to come, and I have not been able to go home as often as I would like, just nip in even for the weekend. So I really do miss my family. My niece turned 7 yesterday, and I was working, and I wasn't even able to go online with her because I was working. I had an event online. So, I really miss my family and family time. Of course, the beach and my friends.
Oh, I totally empathize with you. Cheryl, please tell us, what is it you miss most about home?
Well, just like you, Arlene, I love mangoes. I mean, I could sit with a bucket of mangoes and have it. Well, Julie is my favorite. And I could eat it for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. I miss my friends where we just hang out on the weekend. You cook some good food with some music and you invite friends over, or just simply driving through the countryside, but it's mango and plum season right now. So I'm looking to head home very, very soon.
Ladies, honestly, I don't know why I asked that question because I don't know how I'm going to sleep tonight. You're raising my homesickness to an unprecedented level. You're giving me tabanka. And on that note, I come to Tracy. What is it you miss most about Trinidad and Tobago?
So, Arlene, well, I've only been here for about 5 months, but try telling that to my belly. I after, family and friends and all that, top of the list is really food for me, depending on the day you ask me and how hungry I am. I can say I could do without the family and friends, just give me good Trini food. So the thing is, I managed to cook most of the Trini dishes I like, but it really doesn't compare to being able to step out randomly and head to the Trini Chinese restaurant or shop, or the Doubles Man, satisfy a craving anytime I want. And
I totally empathize.
Yeah. And then, of course, having just experienced my first winter, which everyone has told me was mild, I am sort of bracing for what normal is. Makes me miss
sunshine.
But more than just the seasonal warmth, of course, the warmth of the people. They're just some things you can't
replicate. I know some things you can't replicate. H.C. Miller from my homeland. I'm sure you have a long list because I have a long one, but let's hear from you. What do you miss most about?
So sorry, Arlene and Cheryl, it is not mango. For this island girl, apart from family, it is just sitting on the beach in the hot sun, drinking coconut water from the husk, ice cold coconut water from the husk. That's what I miss most.
Oh my goodness, you've given me such sweet memories. Thank you. And Tanya, what do you miss most from Cuba?
I can tell you that if I have to choose just one, sitting at the seawall in Havana. Any other afternoon with no reason, just sitting there at the seawall, this is what I miss the most. definitely.
Oh, indeed. All of your stories resonated with me. So we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back. Listen, our viewers, type in the chat. Tell us what you miss most from home. And hopefully it's not mangoes because then it would just explode the chat. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
I got a mortgage customized to fit me.
Same day pre-approval on my loan. Wow.
Lower mortgage payments, so I have money to do more of the things that matter.
Happiness is owning my own crib.
Take advantage of our same-day mortgage pre-approval plus customized financing of up to 100% and enjoy low monthly payments. Happiness is home. Own it with VMBS.
All right, welcome back. And now we are going to have on the virtual stage a trailblazer, another trailblazing woman for short remarks. She's someone whom I admire greatly, having known her for several years. She's none other than Judith Forth Blake. And Judith is the Group Chief Customer and Brand Officer of Victoria Mutual. And just so you know, Judith is a seasoned and accomplished marketing, client experience, and communications professional with wide-ranging experience leading marketing and corporate communications functions for multinational companies in the financial services and consumer retail industries. Without further ado, welcome, Judy, for short remarks and reflections on this conversation today. Great to see you.
Hi, thank you, Arlene. So good to see you too. I wish I could help you with your mangoes.
I wish you could. I think you
Maybe
had a Julie
another
mango
time.
tree, didn't you?
Yes, maybe another time. But good evening to our viewers. I am sure that you all agree that the evening was absolutely well spent. Thank you to all the amazing Caribbean diplomats on the panel for taking the time to share your stories in such an engaging way at this fireside chat. The work you are doing to advance the interests and the welfare of your respective countries is tremendous. And it's good that we could have the benefit of hearing your personal stories. I am sure that you have and will continue to inspire other young women and men to serve their countries in similar ways. Victoria Mutual is beyond proud to be associated with and to be sponsors of this event. As many of you already know, at VM, we treasure our members and we eagerly pursue opportunities to support and engage our Jamaican and Caribbean people across the diaspora in meaningful ways. That is why we continue to participate in and support activities such as this evening's event, which is done in partnership with the Jamaican Consulate. We have been using various channels and methods to help us to keep close to our members in Canada. And last year, we hosted our first virtual tour with great success. I'll take this opportunity to let you know that we continue to write mortgages for Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica living in the diaspora who may be interested in investing in property in Jamaica. I'm proud to say that at VM, we offer extremely attractive foreign currency rates, and our online mortgage portal gives you direct contact with our mortgage lending center in Jamaica. Our member engagement team is also available to provide whatever information and support you may need, and you can call us on 1-876-754-VMBS. We look forward to hearing from you. On behalf of the VM team, I offer thanks to the Consulate General of Jamaica in Toronto for organizing this event. I also thank the Consuls General and High Commissioner who participated in the chat and shared their own inspiring stories. Thank you all for what you are doing to support Jamaican and Caribbean people, and for your work in advancing our culture and advocating for our common interests. Thanks also to you, Arlene, our moderator, for your excellent handling of the evening's proceedings. And thanks to Charles Matthews for his technical guidance and support. And finally, thanks to our audience for tuning in from wherever you are. Friends, it has been a wonderful evening. And I thank you all on behalf of the entire VM group, including our Chief Representative Officer in the UK, Leighton Smith, who is with us this evening, even though it's probably midnight or Sunday morning where he is, and our Group President and CEO, Courtney Campbell, who brought greetings earlier. We wish you all the very best and thank you, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Judy. And now we are joined on the virtual stage by CG Downer. Lincoln, where are you?
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, okay. There you are.
Hi, Judith. How are you?
CG Downer. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. And in a word, I feel so inspired by today's fireside chat. It was just awesome. And it is my hope that some young women and young men watching today will join our noble profession of the diplomatic service. I also wanted to use this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to remember our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent and the Grenadines who have been impacted by the eruption of La Soufriere volcano. They are still in need of items such as water boots and masks and power wash equipment. I had a conversation with our colleague Fitz Huggins yesterday, and that is what he has asked me to share with you. For further information on the needs of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and just how you can support, please visit the Consulate of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Facebook page for more information. Please look in the description below as on the screen, and then you just click and just continue to support. We all also as Consuls General have our own respective outreach, so visit our respective Facebook or Instagram or our website for more information. And thank you again for watching.
Thank you, CG Downer. And that's it, folks. That's it, viewers. We are at the end of our special fireside chat. On the screen, you're seeing all of our wonderful panelists. You're seeing Judith Forth Blake from our partnership with Victoria Mutual. And of course, Consul General Downer. So listen, enjoy the rest of the evening. You can catch the replay anytime, relive your favorite moments, and share the link with your friends who might have missed it or weren't able to join because it's too late where they are. We're going to have some music to take us out for the evening, so now you can dance and boogie all you want. And if you are here in Canada, please reach out to your consulate, make sure you're on their list, and visit their social pages. We are all Caribbean strong. Thank you all very much. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.
Please be advised that this podcast is meant for educational and informational purposes only and is in no way a replacement for legal or medical advice. The opinions contained within are solely those of the interviewers and interviewees and should be received as so. Those seeking help or advice are encouraged to obtain professional legal and medical services.